Welcome to another episode of Experience Annie Wines Live, as this is our opportunity every week to come together and talk about one topic that's typically relevant in my life and also relevant in what's going on in the world today. It's an opportunity for us to grow and learn and build on ourselves as we do each week. Every week I kick things off with a moment of gratitude, someone or something I'm grateful for, so that I seek out greatness and gratitude in all that I do. And this week I'm grateful for this group of people I have in town this week. There's a group from Canada, from Chuckett Removal Services, a junk removal company in the greater Toronto area, and they sought me out a couple months ago, brought me in as a consultant, and now they've come down here for 3 days this week to figure out their annual planning for their business today and in the future. They've been in business for 17 years, and to what Ricky said, never really had a plan. And so they've looked at me and trusted in me to help and guide them and support them execute on their strategy for their 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goal. And I'm grateful that I get to use my talents and abilities in business, being a fourth-generation entrepreneur, growing up doing this business, living in this industry, living, sleeping, eating, breathing it. And now they're giving me the opportunity to train, coach, and mentor them and their team. They came in 5 deep. We celebrated and broke bread Sunday night, had a meal at my house, and now they're in town for 3 days, and we are rebuilding their business. And the look on their eyes as we reshape the business and we come up with their values and their org chart, it's very rewarding for me. I love mentoring and mentoring. That's the best word. It's not coaching or consulting necessarily. It's absolutely mentoring those, supporting people, finding the answers within them to get them where they want to go in life. There's our thank you and our gratitude. And next we move on to my ask. It's a very simple ask. Speaking, I've been talking about this lately. I want to get in front of more audiences. That mentorship, the ability to share my talents and abilities with the world. So whether it's a chamber, it's a convention coming up, it's a company that's looking for an annual speaker or a quarterly inspirational session or workshop, I'm the guy that brings the language of leaders to leaders in need of that language. It's very simple. How do we reshape and reform our language? How do leaders talk? How do we get rid of negative self-beliefs, limiting self-talk? And how do we empower those around us so that we get the most out of this life? And that goes right into today's topic. Seasonal depression. It's that simple. Let's get right to it. Seasonal depression is a mother. I've struggled with depression all my life. I've struggled with depression as a kid being bullied. I struggled with it when I come home from Iraq, and I've struggled with it over the last 15 years in and out of relationships, the struggle of being a single father and not having the time with my daughter that I've wanted in the past. So I've struggled with depression throughout my life. And so earlier today, I looked up the definition of depression. It's very simple how they would define depression, because we talk about this word. Let's start with the meaning of the word so we're on the same page, right? Depression is a serious mood disorder that affect a person's thoughts, feelings, behavior, and sense of well-being. And as I read that, I started thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs with the well-being, right? That how we think about ourselves and what do we need and how do we get through this life when our basic needs aren't met, especially the psychological, right? The physical needs and then the psychological needs aren't met when we feel threatened. And I also thought about Stephen Covey and one of my favorite sayings of all time, Stephen Covey: sow a thought and you reap an action, sow an act and you reap a behavior or habit, sow a habit and you reap a character, sow a character and you reap destiny. And I look at this order of march that they describe depression as. It affects a person's thoughts, feelings, behavior, and then sense of well-being. So that's in line with what Covey's saying. It's in line with what Maslow talks about with our hierarchy needs and our psychological need. And I also thought about the military, the Army, ATC, the activated event, the thought, and then your emotions and reactions, or they call consequences. And everything lines up here, even in the order they say it. It's a thought. Your thought leads to your feelings. Often your feelings and your behaviors are that emotional and immediate reaction you're having to a stimulus. And over time, eventually you have this sense of well-being that you're not well because this is controlling you. Again, it's a serious mood disorder, and it affects people. Earlier this week, I was sent a video by somebody that talks about these 3 control groups and the power of words. And they had 3 control groups. They had 3 groups, rather, of people that were struggling with depression. One group got heavily medicated. One group went into therapy. And in the third group, they had them change their self-talk. So they had them eliminate 2 different word sets. One is I can't and I have to. As we know, read my book, right? I can't is a shit word, right? And I have to is a limiting self-belief, an obligation versus an opportunity. And when people start to take control of their life, they shift from that victim mindset to the victor mindset. They start saying things like, I choose to, I choose not to, I will. I can't is often a lie. I can't make it. No, I choose not to come. I've struggled with this for the last 2 years. I gave up alcohol about 2 years ago, and I often say, I don't drink, right? It's a simple thing, right? I don't drink also turns into I don't care. And I also talk about that. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. And it's very limiting self-talk because I'm not telling the world anything, and I'm reasserting onto myself the negative things I think in this world. So now I choose to say I abstain from drinking alcohol, right? It's a choice. I'm making a choice to avoid using alcohol. I abstain from it, right? Everyone knows what the word abstain is, and it's a conscious choice I'm making. Often when it comes to decisions, earlier today, actually, we might be hiring a new vendor, and it's from our IT company, and we've struggled with our IT company recently, so we're looking for a new IT company. And my heat of the moment thought was like, I don't care. I want my computer to work. No, I do care. So let me list the things I care about. I care about my computers working. I care about us having the infrastructure in our company where we can run our business every day. And I also care that that's talking to my business partner, that you maintain the relationship because it's a better fit for you to maintain the relationship than me because I have failed at it in the past, working with vendors and especially the IT vendors. So instead of just throwing it up in the world and saying, I don't care, right? Limiting what I do care about, I talk about what actually matters to me. Also, what I have control over. I can sit back and say, oh, I can't make that decision because I failed it in the past. No. I choose to delegate and elevate somebody else to make that decision. And I felt good that I know the decision's in the right hands with the right person. And now that person's empowered to make the decision. Going back to that study, those 3 groups of people, heavily medicated, those that got therapy, and those that changed their language. The people that chose their language, they got rid of I can't and I have to and transitioned it to I choose to or I choose not to and I will, showed better signs of recovery and got out of depression sooner than the other 2 groups. Because going back to what Stephen Covey says, it all starts with our thoughts. Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talks about why you're excited versus you're anxious. You get the opportunity to pre-plant thoughts in your head. I was having a conversation with my mom yesterday. My mom was going to go do water aerobics at the Y. So my mom is admitted she's a silver sneaker. She admitted her age is catching up with her. A couple of years ago, she tore out her knee playing pickleball. A year before that, she played volleyball in the sand on our team. Like 3 years ago, like the second play of the game, she hurt her ankle or her knee. I'm struggling to recall which it was. She was out halfway through the first game of the first match of the first season. And years before that, she had played volleyball. She had played court volleyball up until 5-7 years ago. Yesterday, she called me. I called her, rather. I check in with her every day. And I'm on the phone with her, and she's, I'm going to the Y to do water aerobics. And I don't want to for this reason. It's a locker room. It's the ladies. I don't know where to go. My mom's 67 years old, and she sounded like a 5-year-old going to her first day of kindergarten. I don't know where my locker is. I'm not going to make friends. Last night, I called her to check back in with her to see how she was doing. And she called me, rather. Getting my days and things confused. And she goes, I could not have had a better time. Yeah, it was the Y. I figured it out. There's a locker room. Yep, we changed. You take your towel out. And it turns out I'm in the water aerobics. The water's up to my neck. It was nice and warm. I was able to move my body without hurting my joints. And the lady sitting right next to me is a lady I haven't seen in 10 years because we used to work together at a place. And I was like, well, there you go. You went from this, I have to go do water aerobics, right? I can't do this and I can't do that too. I had the time of my life, right? And her choice in that moment is getting the body moving. I was listening to something a couple of weeks ago, Andrew Huberman, they were talking about your mental health versus your physical health, which is more important. And a lot of people say, it's my mental health. I got to work on my mental health. Once my mental health is right, I'll get my physical health figured out. No. Your mental health often is a byproduct of what you're physically doing. You have more choice over what your physical body does than what your brain is actually doing at rest. When you get physically active, it gives your brain a chance to rest and digest. It's one of the reasons I love playing volleyball year round. I can say it's the 1 hour a day when I'm on the volleyball court, my phone is not in my hand. It's the 1 hour a day that I'm not available. It's the 1 hour a day that I'm focused on one thing and one thing only. And I'm standing, I'm moving, I'm jumping, I'm running. I'm doing all these things to increase my heart rate, to increase the dopamine that's dripping into my body. Because getting my body physically moving is good for me. This last 2 weeks, I've been deer hunting, going out to the field, getting out in nature, taking walks, pushing deer and driving deer. Just even, I was about to say just, I did say just, even walking to my stand and sitting there and breathing in fresh air and watching the sunset, all those things that I'm doing physically enable mentally for me to be grateful for the life I live. Give me time to rest and digest. Also give me time to comprehend things that are complicated and what can I do to simplify them, because I can put my physical being somewhere else. I can get my body moving, right? Movement creates momentum. And then those pressures and stress, that agony, that creeper that comes up on your shoulder, right? Of the past choices you made that didn't work out, the present choices that are overwhelming, the anxiety that I've been feeling or others may be feeling towards the future. As they creep in, I'm standing tall. I'm not a victim of what I have to do, what I can't do. No, I'm a victor of what I will do, what I choose to do. And so I can look those things in the face and say, no, this is how I'm going to show up. This is what I'm going to do. I know right now it's that season, right? I struggle with the holidays. My grandmother, the most important person in the world to me, died on Christmas Eve. I've never been one that's loved the holidays. And so now I'm choosing going into the holidays. No, I'm going to go out of my way to do things holiday related to embrace the season. I'm also going to take time to rest and digest and to read and do all those things I've wanted to do this year. I got 28 days, 29 days here left to get them done. I got lots of time to read those books I want to read. I got lots of time to prep myself for next year so I can have a successful next year. So instead of focusing on the short days and the lack of beach volleyball and the lack of hunting and the lack of all the things that I typically do throughout the year, I am focusing now on the abundance. What choices do I have? I have a wide open schedule, like 4 weekends in a row. What great opportunity I have to do all the things that I've wanted to do this year. When I lack time, now I have unlimited time because I can choose to do those things. And when I start to put those thoughts in my brain, I get myself up and moving, I put those positive thoughts in my brain, I anticipate favorable outcomes. Now I start combating the negative self-talk, because the negative self-talk, that creeper will come up. And I can look them in the eye and face the reality, face the facts. Recently, I've been studying limerence, and it talks about limerence, and it's an addiction that you have. And as part of that limerence, it allows you, says, okay, focus on that thing that's bothering you. Give yourself 10, 15 minutes to focus on it. Put things in reality, put things in perspective, use facts to back up how you're feeling or not feeling. And after 15 minutes, walk away. Physically get up. Give yourself the time to process that information. So when there's something bothering you, take 10, 15 minutes. Allowing yourself all day to let it ruin your day is a waste of time. No, say, you know what? These 15 minutes a day, I'm gonna work this out in my head, and I'm gonna really think about it. And maybe you watch a video or read something ahead of time so you can pre-plant thoughts in your head before you go into this meditation session. And then when your 15 minutes is done, give yourself that 10, 15 minutes, walk away from it. Or schedule another time that you can ruminate on it. And next time that thing creeps up, say, okay, hold on, this is not the time for me to dig into this. So yes, those things will creep up. Those desires that you did not achieve this past year, the anxiety of what next year will bring, will creep up on you. Give them their place, give them their space, and love on them. That's something recently I've learned, and I'm realizing. In the 4 agreements, they talk about that, right? They talk about the duality, right? I talk about the Cherokee fable, how there's the wolf of love and there's that wolf of hate. And I often will say, starve that wolf of hate. Do not give credence to that wolf of hate and scarcity, and love upon the wolf of abundance. And what I've realized recently, no, love both the wolves that are inside you. Love it to a point where that poison becomes a serum that fuels you and energizes you. Love on those things that you don't love about yourself. Be proud of those things. Be proud of who you are. Embrace those idiosyncrasies and imperfections that the rest of the world sees, that are those things that make you uniquely you. And when you get yourself up and physically moving, when you implant and pre-plant thoughts in your head, when you take time to process and love on yourself, you will fight off that depression. You will no longer focus on the number of hours of light in the day. You will focus on the hours you have every day to work on yourself. You'll no longer talk about the cold. You'll talk about the warmth from within yourself. You'll find opportunities to be great. You'll find gratitude in the season. you'll find how wonderful the world is when you selfishly focus on you. That's the challenge of this time of year, what I see everybody, a lot of people go out there and they want to get out to this world and give, and then they feel so defeated. They're depleted from giving. The opposite, right? And then they go home and then they want more and more. No, embrace the time you have with yourself right now. Take the time to work on you. What are the things that you've wanted to do over the last 48 weeks? You got 4 weeks left to get those things done. Give yourself that dopamine. Maybe you didn't go to the gym all year. Maybe you didn't start your nutrition plan. Maybe you didn't read the book yet. Okay. The old adage, right? Yesterday was a really good starting day. Today's better. Tomorrow's the worst option. Start today. Start doing those things today that are going to make you a better person. And then we will no longer talk about depression. We'll no longer talk about the season and the seasonality and the cold and the short days. No. We will talk about what you do to make yourself great. And in a matter of 3 weeks from now, the days will get longer once again. And eventually the snow will break and it'll be spring and summer. Why wait until then to be the version of you that you want to be in this world? Those are the questions I want you to ask yourself. Those are the exercises that you have the opportunity to do this week. And those are the opportunities of pre-planting your thoughts in your head to get you where you want to be. My simplest solution is that take the time this week to focus on those potential challenges you have coming up against you. Focus on them, compartmentalize them, think them through, test them against facts, anticipate how you feel about those things. Pre-plant thoughts in your head so when the stimulus does come up, you already have an answer to the question you're yearning to solve. Get your body up and moving. Do something physically to get your body, your brain, your blood flowing. I often think why we have such high depression rates in our society and mental health issues because people are fat and lazy and not getting out and fucking moving. Get out and fucking move. Eat right. Sleep. Do those things and your mental health will follow. And finally, when those parts of you that you might not love come up, give them a little love. Remind yourself that's what makes you uniquely you. Dan Sullivan calls it your unique ability. Les Brown calls it your greatness. Mark Twain calls it and refers to it as the second greatest day of your life. The day you're born and the day you figure out why. Love on those parts of you that are unique. One of my favorite movies, the movie Home. It's a kid's movie. At one point in the movie, he says, I do not fit in, I fit out. Lean into how you fit out. Let the world see that. When I talk about the 3 steps to success, that is what I'm talking about when I say show the fucking world who you are. Those idiosyncrasies, those imperfections, that's what makes you uniquely you. So this week and always, I ask you 3 things. Do these for yourself so you can become the person you want to be before the year is over. Do the fucking thing. Tell the fucking world and show the fuck up. We'll see you next week.